don't know what it is, and I need to bring this up. Maybe it's because a site like Crunchyroll doesn't have the streaming license for it, and Disney has it. Maybe it's because Tokyo Revengers airs on a Saturday where 12 other big shows, or at the very least, decently watched shows are airing. But the discussions for Tokyo Revengers Season 2 is far too small given how good this season has been so far and how good the first season was. I think it's probably just a mixture of everything, Crunchyroll not having the license and also just everything airing on Saturday, because this show deserves so much more praise, and it's unfortunate to see so few people not only making videos on the show, but so few people even discussing it on sites like Reddit or even just Twitter and stuff. I don't know what's happening, but I mean, I would argue episode 2 of season 2 is even better than the first episode, and I love discussing it, but it just seems like the passion's not there this season, and it's unfortunate. And I hate having to do this, but I'm just gonna say it. If you want to keep seeing reviews on Tokyo Revengers, let's have those comments, let's have those likes, let's get this video popping off, because otherwise I'm just going to keep this as an exclusive on Patreon, because I ain't going to waste my time if no one's caring, and right now it feels like no one's caring. So, just want to throw that little house cleaning out of the way here, because this show deserves far more appreciation than it's currently getting, but that's just me anyway. Now, I do have a full live reaction to today's episode available on the Patreon, and if you end up not seeing reviews, they will continue on Patreon, just saying. But this episode was fantastic. I mean, Black Dragon is not playing around. Like, Black Dragon are a bunch of psychopaths. And the interesting thing with Takemichi's dilemma is that when you look at the characters in his present, right, whether the timeline's changed or not and which timeline we're in at any particular moment, the characters that act like psychopaths, they generally were pretty normal when they were kids or even teenagers, right? And the fact that you look at a character like Shiba, who in his present was just a completely different person, but the dude we're seeing here is just someone who enjoys bowling with his sister and having a fun, goofy adventure. Yet we know apparently he kills the leader of Black Dragon, as they say, for money. And then we learn that the leader of Black Dragon is actually his older brother, and his older brother is an absolute psychopath. I mean, the fact that he came in and just clotheslined our boy and threw him into a wall, not because he thought he had to, but that's just who he is. He didn't even know he was a member of Tamon. He just did that because he saw everyone else ganging up on him. These are not good people, and I think it's interesting looking at Takemichi's dilemma, because when you consider the fact that he has the weight of the world on his shoulders, he can, yes, jump forward and backwards a set amount of years, but once something's set in motion, it's not like he can go back 20 years and try to correct it. It's like he just has to continue to adjust. And every time he thinks he knows what to expect from a person, the past version of themselves is just a normal dude who is saying, like, we're gonna be pals, we're gonna be best friends now. And what is the solution? The only real solution, it feels like, is to convince each of these people who he knows in the future has either committed bad acts or has gotten involved with the wrong crowd, to either not join at all, maybe quit the gang altogether, or convince them to be a lot better. So in the case of, if you look at someone like Mikey, right? We know Mikey can become the absolute evilest of scumbags, or he can be a normal person depending on how the past defines him. And a character like Shiba, I think, is pretty much the exact same. Depending on if Takemichi's a good pal to him, most likely he probably won't end up who we saw before. But the unfortunate thing is it feels like the concept of dismantling these gangs you can't do. The gangs are going to exist no matter what. If you convince, say, Mikey and Shiba and all these people to just quit the different gangs, someone else will take their place and probably Hina will still end up dead, right? So we're in a very sticky predicament, and I have no solution. The only solution that seems likely is that rather than trying to kill off the people before they have a chance to be bad, is to probably befriend them and try to convince them of a better path, so that when hard situations pop up, Takemichi can be there in order to hopefully try to persuade them to do a better outcome. But that's really the only thing he can do. It's an interesting thing though, because when you look at a character like Shiba, you don't really get a sense that he wants power or he wants money. When you hear the fact that he kills the leader for money, the only thing that comes to mind is like, okay, did his sister need an operation that costs a bunch of money? But it feels like that'd be too on the nose. There's probably some misdirect going on there in terms of, like, at face value, it's said that he killed his brother for money and power, but there's probably a different reason. I can't predict it right now. I don't know what it is, but it does feel like a misdirect. You have his sister, who honestly had quite the force to her. She did this like spinning kick in a skirt and just sent our boy flying. I was like, that was pretty badass. But the fact of the matter is, like, it feels like Black Dragon, they ain't going away anytime soon. And it feels like, unfortunately for Takemichi, how is he getting out of this? Either in this moment, Shiba's gonna kill his brother and take control, or somehow he's going to get dragged along and who knows how long before his actual gang is going to save him. Because when you look at Takemichi, does he really look like a commander or a leader of any sort? Hell, he doesn't even really look like a grunt. So the idea of like this rookie who's this golden rookie who's jumping up the ranks, when you have someone as big and as large and in charge as his brother is, I mean, it's no wonder he's kind of laughing, thinking it's a really dumb joke, because how the hell is this boy? And if that boy really is a commander, then okay, then this gang's even more pathetic than we first thought. It's a very unfortunate thing, because when you look at how the first like handful of minutes of the show is, it's just them bowling, it's them playing pool, it's just them being kids. And the fact that you can then switch over to the Black Dragon version and you just see them like they're the murder squad, right? And the fact that it's just so different. Like, these kids have such potential to just have normal lives, but one wrong move sets them in motion into such a chaos and death-filled trap. Like, I do not envy Takemichi whatsoever, and I think no one put in Takemichi's shoes would probably do any better or worse. They would probably be, at the very least, stuck in a very similar thought process. You probably think you have the right answer, then you jump ahead and you realize it made a completely different mess, and then you're trying to compensate for that. It's just in a very unfortunate circumstance, and unlike a lot of time travel series where they allow a little more flexibility with the resets, it just feels like Takemichi is in a very, very bad place. And I honestly would argue Tokyo Revengers is one of the more difficult to predict time travel stories, because the rule set is definitely very different than what you're typically used to, but most importantly, the solutions is either you try to persuade them to be better people, or you kill them before they can be bad people. But unfortunately, if you kill the person before they can be bad, someone else will take their place and probably the same thing will happen, just in a different way. So you try to persuade them to be better, but then in the process of trying to fix them, someone else ends up messing up. So one person trying to correct the entire past, it feels impossible. The only thing that I think is a given is that Takemichi needs to continue to look at the people in his present or his future, depending on where he's currently at. And the people that seem like absolute scumbags, like, you need to persuade them in order to be better. The person who's seemingly responsible time and time again for our girl's death, most importantly, is probably the person we need to persuade the hardest. But can he? I have absolutely no idea. But I would argue this is an even more exciting episode than episode 1, and episode 1 of season 2 jumped in showing us that Takemichi was actually responsible that time around for the death, and that was a pretty heavy pill to swallow. But I leave an episode with a grin on my face, excitement to see where Tokyo Revengers is going to go from here, and I hope more people are going to start watching and talking about it. We're going to stick to doing Tokyo Revengers on Sundays after everything else on Saturday is aired. Hopefully more people maybe get into that rhythm, maybe we'll see some more discussions, but like I said, if the videos aren't going to do well, I will keep this as an exclusive. I don't like doing that, but I ain't gonna waste my time if no one seems to care about the reviews, and right now it seems like people aren't that interested. So if you like the review, show that support down below, subscribe if you're new around here, and like I mentioned, there is a full live reaction available on the Patreon, and while you're there you can also get yourself a video shout out. So today we got CTH, Daniel Darby, and Danny0018. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.